Mum or dad only love me, they only see me, they only acknowledge me when I'm doing something good. Welcome to ChildWise Chatter, where I want to support you to find your way back to your heart, where all the answers are for how you can be the best parent for your child. Today, I want to talk about bribing. Now, this is something I do from time to time. I probably used to do it a lot more than I used to, and maybe it's something that you're using a lot as a parent to get your kids to do what you want them to do. Now, it's okay. But what I want to do here today is help you understand what can happen when we use bribing as a really regular strategy as a parent, and some other things we can do instead. So step one is really understanding how bribing can actually be experienced by your child as conditional love. Now, the message I know you probably want to send to your child is that they are loved absolutely unconditionally. But when we use bribes frequently, they can start to equate our love with the bribes that we're giving them. So when we only give them things, and it might not just be actual physical things, it might even be our attention or our praise or our words of acknowledgement. When we only give those things to them when they're doing what we want them to do, they can start to kind of extrapolate that into mean that actually mum or dad only love me, they only see me, they only acknowledge me when I'm doing something good. Now, long term, this can really have an effect on their sense of self, on their sense of self-worth, on their self-esteem, and just on how they see themselves. So you might be someone that you would describe yourself as a people pleaser. This is a really common kind of outcome of this way of being parented. We start to really kind of value how other people see us, more so than having that kind of intrinsic worth that we are enough just as we are, that sometimes we do good, sometimes we do bad because we're human for all sorts of reasons, but that doesn't actually affect, who we are as a person. So that's kind of one of the long-term effects of really frequently using bribes. Now, step two is just to think about when you do give your kids things, whether it is physical things like gifts or whether it is your attention or, your kind of affection, think about giving it with no strings attached. So when our children know that they have our love without having to do anything to get it, then that really does set them up for success long term. They know that your love for them, how you see them, how you are willing to understand and support them is rock solid. They don't have to do anything in return to get that love. Now, I know that when I just surprise my boys with something that I know they will love, just because, for no reason, no matter how they've been behaving, I can see the delight in their faces. I can see how that really puts a really big deposit in our relationship bank account. And you know yourself, when someone you love just kind of surprises you with something or really gives you that unconditional kind of attention, that unconditional understanding, it really lights you up inside. It really makes you feel good about yourself. Now, step three is to really understand the difference between what your child wants and what they need. Now, it is totally possible to spoil children. I don't love that word spoil, but to kind of cause damage, I guess you could say, by giving them too much stuff. But we can never, ever spoil our kids by giving them what they need, which is those things like attention, seeing them no matter what, knowing them, understanding them, giving them affection, giving them our validation, letting them know that we delight in them no matter what, just for the very reason that they exist. Now, there are times when you have to say no to what your child wants. And that's really important because we don't really want children that grow up kind of thinking that they just get whatever they want, no matter what. There are limits to what is and isn't possible. So really thinking about, when you are giving your children things, are they the things they really need versus the things that they want? A big thing that I hear from a lot of parents is that they don't want their kids to grow up as entitled, just thinking that they're entitled to whatever they want. And so the way to avoid this is to really kind of shower them with those basic needs, and be unconditional on those, but actually have some limits around the stuff that they're getting, and be clear on your values when you are purchasing things for them, and the reasons why you're going to give them those things. Giving them these needs unconditionally can be really, really tough. If they are doing things that we don't like, if the behavior is kind of, unwanted or bad, we might call it. But that's sometimes when they need these things like acceptance, like affection more than ever. So just being aware of where you might be withholding what they need based on behavior is a really important thing to start to notice. Now, I know that from my own experience with, particularly with my little guy Tom recently, we have a kind of a standing thing in place that I spend some time with him for half an hour every day whenever possible. So we call it Mummy Tommy time. And I tell you what, sometimes when he has done something that I really don't like, it can take all of my, conscious awareness to not withdraw that, to not say, well, actually, I'm not going to have Mummy Tommy time with you today because you blah, blah, blah. But what I need to remember is that time with him is really how I express my unconditional love for him. And sometimes when he hasn't been behaving well, that's when he needs it most. So it's really, really important to be giving that consistent emotional support no matter what. And when they experience that, they know they have that unconditional love, and they know that they are worthy, they are good kids, no matter what their behavior might be like. So the last step is, what do we do? What do we do to get them to do the things we want them to do? So this is just really about supporting their skills, teaching them the values that are important in our families, and knowing that these things are going to take time to learn. So when they're not able to do what we want them to do, there's a really good reason. It's not because they're choosing to be, painful or annoying. So our job is to understand what might be in the way. Our other job is to understand their brains, their level of development, what is and isn't okay to kind of expect of them, and then to involve them collaboratively when there are problems. So if there is a recurring problem in your morning where your children just will not get dressed and will not get ready for school, well, then it's time to just kind of, come together and work out what's going on with that. Listen to their perspective. Maybe there's something happening at school that they're really resistant about going. So can we find ways to work through this problem? Can we get things ready the night before a bit more so that it's easy? At one stage, my oldest, Harry, was going to bed in his clothes every night because we had lambs at the time. He had to get up, feed the lambs, and just getting dressed was just one more thing on his to-do list. So we got around that by solving the problem and deciding that he would actually wear his clothes for the day to bed the night before. Who cares? It's no skin off anybody's nose. So involving your kids in that problem solving, helping them learn the skills, understanding that if they're not doing well, there's a really good reason why that is. So I hope this has been helpful to you in understanding why, if we're turning to bribes as a regular strategy in our parenting toolkit, there might be some other ways to do things. So you are doing such a great job, I know, because you are watching this. Please leave any comments below if you have questions. Get in touch with me, and please subscribe to my channel. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. See you later.